Whenever I refer to the various writings of different religions, you'll almost always hear me say holy scriptures or holy writs, holy books. You'll never hear me say sacred. Why is that? Well, it's just because of what those particular terms mean to me. And it's purely a semantical thing. I know that words mean different things to different people, but for me personally, sacred and holy do mean two slightly different things. Holy is something that in some way or the other I feel was handed down either directly from the divine or was somehow handed down by someone who was connected to the divine in some ways, a prophet or a teacher, someone who somehow, perhaps either through mystical means or whatever other means, had more knowledge than us. And to me, sacred moves something from one category to the other, and I'll try to illustrate that for you. A few years ago, there was a young man who defaced a statue. It was a religious icon. I believe it was a statue of Jesus. And he was arrested by the police and tried for defacing a statue. But there were some people who felt that he should be jailed for 20 or 30 years, some that he should be beaten, some that he should be killed for this. And these were Christians saying this type of thing. It was very much a similar reaction to what some Muslims had to those cartoons making fun of Muhammad. Now, obviously, I am never in favor of making fun of someone's religion or someone's religious figure. But when someone does it, I think it's extremely important to recognize that you can't put the way that you feel about something off onto other people. Yes, that image is very important to you. But just like the flag of various countries, people in the United States, for instance, do have the right to burn a flag. There are people, I see it all over Facebook, where people will say, oh goodness, someone burnt a flag. They should be put in jail. It should be a felony. Well, no, I'm sorry, it's not a felony. That is free speech. You can burn a flag. Even though it is sacred to you, it is not necessarily sacred to them, or perhaps they are doing it as a protest because it is sacred to you. Whatever the case, when we start using the term sacred, it often means that we are adding an unquestioning value to something. When I hear people talk about things like gay marriage, regardless of the fact that gay marriage being a bad thing, biblically, is very much an interpretation of the Bible. People will say, God is right. God doesn't change. The Bible doesn't change because it is sacred. And this is where the danger comes in, because we start forgetting that even though God assumingly doesn't change, he, she, it, the divine, whatever that is, and even though perhaps the Holy Writ itself, the Bible, or whatever other Holy Scripture, is correct, what we are talking about isn't God, and isn't necessarily even that Scripture itself. It is our interpretation of it. And when we start using that term sacred, that is what it starts meaning. It means that. It's no longer our interpretation. It's no longer the way we read it. It's no longer the way we take it. It has very simply become what it is. And that's an extraordinary danger, because we move past questioning. Most of the people, unfortunately, I found, many Christians that I've run into in life, no longer even read the Bible. Some of them do, but when they do read it, and this is just something about the way belief tends to work. When we hear a story our whole life, when we go back to the Bible and we read that story, we will read it the way that we heard it. It will register that way. And even when we read it again and again and again, we don't come to it ever with a fresh interpretation. because, like I said, that meaning starts becoming sacred, not just the text. And this is part of why I think that questioning is so incredibly important. And considering something like Holy Scripture, like the teachings of a church, anything, considering them holy is a good thing. But sacred crosses over into territory where we no longer question. And you will sometimes hear, unfortunately, Christians and many other religions who will say, don't question this, don't question that, you have to accept this and that on faith. The problem is that what they're asking you to question on faith is their interpretation. You believe the way I believe, otherwise you're wrong. Now, obviously not everybody looks at holy and sacred in exactly the same way. That's just my interpretation. It's just my way of looking at it. But hopefully that can give you a little bit of a way to think about the different ways in which we take our own belief systems, and indeed other people's belief systems. I'm the Urban Omnist. Thank you guys for watching. And remember guys, none of this works without you. So subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and above all, don't forget to send me those questions.